Hey all. So, it's been a while since I did my last video. Since then I've had a lot of questions about gear and what I'm playing now and whatnot, so I thought I'd do an update on how my rig has changed and what I'm doing now to get the sounds I need for worship stuff. Unfortunately, I'm in an apartment right now, so I can't give you any sounds off my amp, so hopefully I can just explain stuff well enough you won't get to hear anything. And for that reason, I'm not really sure when I'm going to do my next video tutorial because I kind of need the amp. So that's that. But yeah, hopefully I'll talk through some of my gear stuff and hopefully it's interesting and helpful for people who have questions. So the first thing I'll start with is my guitars. I'm still playing this guy, the 72 Thin Line reissue from Fender. I really like it. Haven't done any changes to it since the last video I made, or really since I bought it. But it isn't my primary anymore. I was looking to get more of a single coil sound for most of the stuff I play, so this guy kind of takes a backseat except for songs where I really need that warm ambient sound. So my primary now is this guy here. So this is a guitar that I put together myself. Me, my brother, and a friend of mine, we each did our own guitars and helped each other out, and this is what came out of the process. So so this is kind of all the parts that I put into it. The neck I actually got off Kijiji used, surprisingly. It is made by Warmoth Custom Guitars. It's a maple neck and a rosewood fretboard, and actually the frets are stainless steel. Most frets are nickel steel. Stainless steel is harder, and therefore you don't get any wear of your frets. They look exactly like new. I've got Schaller locking tuners on it, which are really good for tuning stability. My favorite thing about this neck, I think, is the finish on it. Most, like my other guitar, or most Fender necks have like a glossy lacquer finish, and it's good for some stuff, but for me it gets sticky and you can't go really fast on it. So what I have on this, as you can see, there's almost no shine to it at all. It's actually a wipe-on oil finish. The oil is normally actually used for gun stocks, but it works really well for this purpose. So it's a really, really thin finish. So you feel the wood. And it's just smooth and fast, and I really like it. It's just enough to protect it, but it doesn't gum up your fingers at all. So I really like it, and that's probably my favorite feature of this neck. Another cool thing that Warmoth does that I don't know if there's any other manufacturers who do this, is the neck radius is a compound radius. So if you look at your fretboard like that, you can see there's a curvature to it. When the curve is really tight, it's better for chording, and that's good down low. But when the curve is really flat, kind of like on a Les Paul, it's easier to solo because your bends don't bottom out on frets. So what Warmoth does, they've got a compound radius, so it starts off with a tight radius and ends up with a flat radius. So when you're down here doing most of your chording, you've got the nice, comfortable, tighter radius, and up here, it's flatter, so your bends and whatnot are easier. So that's a really cool thing and kind of makes the guitar a little more flexible. So I guess we'll talk about pickups. These pickups are actually the ones I stripped out of my Squier, but I had upgraded those pickups. So these are Fender noiseless Tele pickups. Just sound like normal Tele pickups. I really like them. Good single coil sound. And I actually have them wired in a bit of a special way. I've got a 4-position selector switch here. So this position, standard, bridge by itself, bridge and neck together in parallel, normal, and neck by itself. Now this position, the 4th position, is the one that's special. It actually wires both pickups together in series, so it makes them into a humbucker, actually. So you get a little more volume output, a little bit different sound of these pickups. So you can put them together in either series or parallel, you just get different sounds. I actually don't use it that much, but it's a nice thing to have. And then my volume and tone are just standard. And of course, I've got the Bigsby here. I I love this addition just to get a little bit of movement on some of my ambient stuff, or depending on what I'm doing. I really, really love it. The tuning stability is good, especially compared with the locking tuners, or when paired with the locking tuners. Unlike a Strat whammy where you can put the guitar out by, I don't know, 5, 6, whatever half steps or full steps, I don't even know. This only will put you out by maybe a full step, so it's just a little bit of warble on top, and I really, really like it. And adds a decent amount of weight to the guitar though too. And I guess the last thing is the body. The body, I believe, yeah, it's an alder body. I got it made by Warmoth Custom Guitars as well. Actually, you can't tell because the pickguard's here. I have an extra pickup cavity routed in here just in case I ever want triple pickup telly. Right now it's just covered up at pickguard, but there's space in the body to put another pickup in if I ever want. I did the finish myself in my garage with paint, obviously. I've actually used auto body paint to do it. And so it isn't quite the finished quality that Fender will do, but I think it turned out really well, considering it's all DIY and my first time ever trying to do guitars. So yeah, I really like the finish, and it was a really cool experience building my own guitar. I don't know if I'll ever buy one off the shelf again, unless I'm looking at something super fancy. So I don't know. I'm really happy with how it's turned out. I've been playing it for a year now, and it's held up really well. So that's my guitar. This is what I play most of the time. The next thing I'll talk through is my pedal board. It's changed quite a bit too since I did my last gear video. I've actually gone into building my own pedals. So about half my board is custom stuff I've done, mostly replicas of on the market pedals, but just done cheaper and how I like them in different color schemes. And it's fun building them. So I've been doing a lot of that, so I'll take you over to the board and show you what's new. So this is the new pedal board. So my signal chain starts over here. This is a pedal I built and designed myself. It has two inputs, one from my new telly and one from my old thin line, and these are each volume controls to do a volume balance between them because the humbuckers have higher output. So I'll usually set, if this is my single coil telly channel, I'll crank that, and then my thin line, I'll have the volume dialed back about like that. So I get, when I switch between the guitars, it's the same volume. Now, this actually has two outputs on it as well. The first output goes to the rest of my chain. The second output goes directly to my tuner. Now, my volume pedal has a tuner out, but I'm sure many of you have heard the horrors and tone suck of using the volume out on the volume pedal because it isn't buffered. Well, I designed this to have a buffered tuner out here, so there's no tone suck at all when you use the tuner, and this jack is active actually all the time. So when you have both guitars plugged in, it doesn't matter which one's on, but both of them output to the tuner, so you can tune silently either guitar, and it doesn't matter which one's selected. So that's a really convenient feature. So coming out of here, we go into this. This is a replica of a Keeley compressor. So I built it, but it's exactly like the Keeley you'd buy off the shelf. And so you got your standard, what is this? This is sustain, volume, and then a couple, I think this is a tack, and I don't know. I don't even know what these knobs are. That's a problem with building your own. I don't have a way to label them yet, but I know the sound that I like. So I really love this compressor. It's great for swells and ambient stuff and just everything. It's a great compressor. This is just a simple boost, single knob. It's a clone of the Zvex SHO, and yeah, it's as straight up as it gets. Next over here, we've got the full tone full drive like I had before. The only change I did to this is I added a circuit that converts the input voltage from 9 volts to 18. So I'm sure a lot of you have heard about running your full drive on 18 volts, which kind of opens up your headroom and gives you, in my opinion, a bit of a better sound. However, no one likes to run two supplies or to get 18 volts is kind of tricky, so I built a circuit and put it in there, and so you can see that's on 9 volts, and the lights get brighter on 18 volts because, yeah, higher voltage, more current. But yeah, so it's just a toggle switch, so if you can still use stock 9 volts, or pop it over and you get the 18 volt, and it just requires a 9 volt input. So that's the cool thing about that. Next over here is a bit of a gem. This is a copy of a JHS Morning Glory, exactly like you'd buy it from JHS, except in a color scheme I chose, and for way, way, way cheaper. That probably cost me 40 bucks to build. If you buy it from JHS, it's about 200. So that's why I do my own pedals. And I don't need to tell you guys about why the Morning Glory is great for worship stuff. It's a marvelous pedal. I use it a ton. So this is now I use this for most of my clean or lighter drives, and actually use the full drive for a bit grittier stuff. I took the Governor off the board, the Marshall Governor pedal, just because I wasn't using it a whole lot. Every so often, depending on the set, I'll pull it out again, but for the most part, it stays off the board. So after the Morning Glory, I come over here. This is my Fulltone SuperTrem tremolo pedal. I really, really love it. The tone is just magnificent. Some days I wish it had tap, but I couldn't afford one with tap when I bought it. So on off, this is a cool feature. It's a speed switch, so when you tap it, the tempo of your trem doubles. So with one setting, you can see the light blinking in time, so that's the trem speed. You click it, and it doubles, and click it off. Then the hard and soft. On the hard mode, you get a really choppy square wave trem. On the soft mode, you get a nice smooth sine, and you've got rate and depth. So I really, really like it. Sounds good. Doesn't have tap, but still works pretty darn good. So out of the SuperTrem, I go to the amp, and then in my effects loop, I have volume pedal as before, Boss DD20 Giga delay, still working good. I'm hoping to upgrade to a Strymon Timeline sometime soon, just because I need more patches, but this guy's still staying in there strong. This is the tap tempo that I'm using now. I just built this because it's way smaller than the Boss tap tempo, and other companies charge too much for something like that. And this is carbon copy. Love this pedal. I might be using this more now than this, just because I'm not using as much dotted eighth and rhythmic delays. I'm using a lot of kind of quick slapbacks or ambient stuff. So I use the carbon copy a whole lot. And of course, over here, like I mentioned before, I replaced the Boss TU2 with the Polytune, and yeah, everyone knows about the Polytune, I think. You can tune all your strings at once, and it's a little more accurate than the Boss. Yeah, so that's that. I finally sprung for it and got the Voodoo Pedal Power 2 Plus, and I didn't think I had much noise in my system using just like a one-spot adapter. When I put the pedal power in, I got rid of noise that wasn't even there. That I didn't even know was there. Like, the noise floor dropped so much. It was one of the best decisions I made. It sucks to drop almost 200 bucks on just the power supply, but for me it was totally worth it, especially once my board's grown like this. And my amp, still the same amp I've always been using, the Fender Blues Deluxe. And yeah, it's still going strong, and nothing too fancy about that. So I mentioned before that I can't play my amp in here because it's an apartment. So what I do for practicing and jamming, I use this little guy, the Apogee Jam. Plug the guitar in here, USB cable out, works with GarageBand and everything. I'm sure everyone's heard of the iRig. The iRig is kind of mediocre because you plug in your guitar and the output goes to the headphone jack, and it relies on the analog to digital converter in your laptop, which for the most part sucks for guitar. So your tone's pretty crappy if you use one of those. This thing has a dedicated analog to digital converter in it that is optimized for guitar, and so it's a USB cable out, so it's an already digital signal coming out of here. So that's and just as one up game, dead simple. It's about $100. Way better than an iRig or something like that. Works great with GarageBand. Obviously, it's still nowhere near the tone you'll get off a tube amp, but for practicing or whatever, it works great. And yeah, actually, so you can plug it either into your laptop, or if you have an iPad or an iPhone with GarageBand on it, it has a different cable that'll go directly to that device, so you can practice on the fly too. So it's a great little thing. And oh yeah, another advantage over iRig, if your device only has a single audio port, if this is going in, then you've got nothing to listen to you're playing except your onboard speakers, which probably will not give you the tone you want. So with this, you're not eating up your audio port with your guitar signal going in, so you can still monitor with headphones. So if you can't use an amp where you are, this is a really great alternative for not too much money. And I don't know what else has changed. I'm using Shure capos now instead of your standard Spring Kaiser or whatever. This is your standard spring capo puts more pressure than you need on the strings, so it'll throw your intonation out the window. This is adjustable, so it only presses as much as you need it to. So it's a lot better for intonation. However, you need two ends to put it on, so it's not as convenient for the live all the time. But to me, the intonation improvement is totally worth a little bit of inconvenience. So that's a rundown of my rig now. I think that's pretty much everything. If you have any questions about doing your own guitar or doing pedals, stuff like that, I'd be more than happy to answer them. It's a whole lot of fun. You save a whole lot of money, and you get to design your gear exactly what you want. And I don't know, you just know your rig inside and out. And I have a lot of fun doing it. So that's that, and happy playing.